Hello and welcome to the Beyond 6 Seconds podcast. I'm your host, Carolyn Keel, and today I'm thrilled to introduce my guest to you. His name is DeAndre Wilson. He is the creator of the Keep Rolling campaign. It's a fundraiser platform that commemorates his father's life and helps nonprofits and families battling cancer who need some extra financial assistance. He's currently working on a documentary to tell his father's story and his story, and describe his health transformation from rolling a 230-pound tracker tire around the city of Evansville, Indiana. DeAndre, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. That was beautiful. That was really good.
Yeah, well, I'm even more excited to hear the story because there's quite a story behind, the 230-pound tracker tire. So
Yeah.
start off by telling me about the tire. Like, where did it come from, and how did it become a part of your life and your father's life?
My father brought the tire home one day, and I said, "What are you going to do with this thing?" Because it was massive. It was hanging out at the back of his truck, and he said he was going to roll it. And of course, during this time, he was battling stage 4 liver cancer and colon cancer.
Wow.
Now, of course, he was able to beat the colon cancer, but the liver was just so far gone. There's just no way from coming back from that. But during his time while he was here, he rolled that tire everywhere. That's what he did. So after chemo treatment, he would come home and he'd roll it.
Wow.
He would eat and he would take off. And I would get text messages and phone calls along the way of people saying, "Hey, we saw your dad. He looks really good. He's having fun." He went everywhere. He didn't let a highway, sidewalk, greenway, he didn't let anything stop him. He just went.
Wow.
And he literally went all over the city with it. And when he passed away, I, had all his belongings, including the tire. And, I was weighing 240 pounds at the time. And I said, you know what, I'm going to roll this thing. My first business, Turntable, that my brother and I started was on pause. And I needed something to do in the meantime. And I wanted to get back in shape, lose some weight. And so I used to work out with the tire in the backyard, and I would even try to roll it down the street. And for the life of me, I just couldn't figure it out. The physics behind it, the science behind it, it just didn't make sense. Here's my father who is dying and figured this out and was moving awfully fast. There are some videos of him rolling the tire, and he was moving, and I just couldn't figure it out. And so I just kept trying. I stayed consistent, and eventually I got it. I went a half a block, then a full block, then 3 blocks, training myself, and eventually built the confidence as well as the muscle to do it. Then just started going around the community myself, and then it blew up. I was on news outlet after news outlet and magazines and social media press. And during that time, I was telling his story and my story. And at this point, they're kind of just one and the same now. But I mean, that's how it all started. It was him wanting to do something positive and wanting to just be in shape. And he didn't, want to go without a fight. And that's one of the messages that we can take away from this. I mean, sure, we all know someone who has gone through cancer and battling cancer, but the efforts of after chemo coming home and then taking off, it's amazing.
That is amazing. And just to give people an idea, when we talk about a 230-pound tracker tire, if I can figure out how to add a picture of you with the tire into this video, I will, and I'll put a picture in the show notes of the podcast. So if you have the audio, you can see it. But this is not your regular tire that comes on a car or a big truck.
Yeah.
This is a huge, huge tire.
It is. So I'm 5'10", and you can't see me behind it.
Wow.
So there's oncoming traffic. I have to kind of peek out just to make sure that there's no child in the street or there's no serious debris in the way. I mean, and I'll probably just smash it anyways, but I still want to be mindful of those things.
Yeah. Wow. And it says, because you had sent me a picture before, it says something on the side of it that's painted, some words there. Is that right?
Yeah. So on both sides, it says cancer sucks. Last month, I had one side completely redone because it started to fade. And then I had the other side updated. So now officially both sides say cancer sucks.
Wow.
And now it's kind of, it's better now because normally when you take a picture with someone, or someone stops me on the side of the road and wants a picture, I don't have to turn the tire around.
Hmm.
It's now on both sides.
Wow. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to imagine your father and then you rolling this giant tire, down a sidewalk or a highway. Like what, did you ever have any trouble, not just moving the giant tire, but, trying to navigate around, I don't know, cars or people? And how did you kind of navigate around that?
Yeah, it took time, just to keep going, and there was a time where I was nervous, as I was in the street, and here comes a car, and I
Mhm.
kind of veer over, but now I'm in between two cars, a parked car and a moving car. So, the nerves were kind of up, but now that I have the muscle and the core, 'cause you have to keep the tire upright, you have to move it hard enough so that it doesn't lean. I'm fine now, but it took a while to get there.
Yeah. So how long did it take from, when you first started rolling it and were kind of struggling to figure out the physics and the mechanics of how to move it to actually being able to roll it consistently?
That part probably took about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. To build the muscle and the stamina and the endurance, and the confidence. I mean,
Mhm.
all that's a package there.
Yeah.
Um, so it took a while.
Yeah. And I imagine it's physical as well as mental when you mentioned confidence, and it's kind of all that tied together to make it move.
Absolutely, you have to concentrate. It's a full body workout. So, um, the harder you push the tire, the faster you have to move. So you have to learn how to pace yourself. You have to learn. Okay, so I have a straightaway, a flat street, so I can kind of. I don't have to go as fast, but you have to pay attention because you could be approaching a hill or a slope of some, not a deep slope, but not
Mhm.
a slope nonetheless. And you have to mentally prepare to push it even harder to get up and over or all the way up and back down again. So there is some mental, the brain's getting an exercise.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, there is some
definitely.
mental exercise with this. Absolutely.
Wow. So let's see, you mentioned that your father went all over, rolling the tire all over the city,
Yes.
really, sidewalks,
Yes.
highways, anywhere. So
Yes.
where have you been with the tire? Is it sort of all around the town or beyond that?
Yeah, I've gone all around Evansville for the most part. There are some goals nonetheless. The suburbs of Evansville is called Newburgh, and
Mhm.
it's about a 15-minute drive. And so I plan to roll the tire from Evansville to Newburgh. So if in a car you're going 15 minutes, that's nothing.
Mm.
But since this is a tire, I believe I looked at Google Maps once. I think it's gonna be a 4-hour trip there and back.
Wow.
Yeah, walking. So that'll be all day. So I'll probably start at. I'll make it a Facebook event as well, so people can tune in. But I will probably take off at probably 6 in the morning and be home probably around 5 p.m. Because and the good thing about it is a straight shot. So
Mm.
I'll take the right lane. Um, let cars take the left lane, and I have a slow moving passenger sign on my back now. Oh yeah, slow moving vehicle sign on my back now. Um, so you can't miss the sign nor the tire. And I'm get after it. That'll probably be my next campaign even. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess, are you rolling at least some distance every day or every other day? Kind of how frequently?
Yeah, so in a week's time, I will probably roll the tire maybe 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
probably 5 miles, 5 to 8 miles.
Wow.
Just trying to continue that community work,
Hmm.
and being able to reach different individuals. Not everyone sees it, you
Hmm.
know, but trying to get as much exposure as I can, just to help people with their goals and campaigning and things of that nature. Just trying to help everyone best that I can, because it's interesting, when I'm on these journeys, I call them roll arounds.
Hmm.
Someone always reaches out and will walk with me or roll the tire, and will tell me, something going on in their life that, honestly, I'm not a professional and I don't know how to deal with those things, but it's good that people want to open up and that they're trusting me with their personal information like that. So, I roll it around just to kind of create those relationships and healthy conversations. So, yeah, it's my work now. So that's what I
Wow.
do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was wondering what your experiences have been rolling the tire, because obviously people are seeing you roll it. If you're doing it 3, 4 times a week,
Hmm.
potentially you're going to the same places. People may see you a couple times. Do
Yes.
people stop you and ask you what you're doing, or how do people interact with you when you're rolling the tire?
Well, I tell you what, you can't have the good without the bad, you
Mhm.
know. Um, when people, stop me, a lot of the times they want to take my picture, which is fine, and ask me, why I'm doing this. And that's great. I love to talk about it. Then people go into what they're struggling with and how we can possibly work together. And I've also come to learn that if people talk about what they're going through out loud, they will come to their own conclusion
Mhm.
or their own solution. And that's also beautiful to see. But I've also, and my dad also went through this as well, but from rolling the tire, we've been pulled over by the police.
Yeah. I was wondering
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we have. And he kept rolling, he kept going. And so did I, obviously. It helped because of all of the media exposure.
Mhm.
Now, of course, it shouldn't have to come to that, but it helped. And so it's been an interesting journey from that aspect of it. It's not like I'm doing anything, it's like I'm gonna steal a tractor tire. And clearly I look like I'm exercising, but you just explain to the officer what you're doing, and you hope for the best. And some officers have been very positive and going, okay, well, I just was curious because I've never seen it before, and I understand that. But then there have been others that have been very disrespectful
Wow.
um, along my journey, and it's a thing. I've come to learn that things that are different, or that we fear we don't understand, and that's okay. The work continues. I haven't stopped, and it's going to take a lot more of. It's going to take a lot to get me to stop.
Mhm.
Um, Complaining and crying that it doesn't make sense and things of that nature is going to make me stop. Rather, just ask the question of why, and let's talk about it. But yeah, every day I keep rolling, get after it, and I love the smiling faces and all the horns that are honked at me, and all the community events I'm asked to participate in. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah. And you had mentioned that, from rolling the giant tire and really getting into that physical and mental shape to be able to do that, that you had your own health transformation. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I started rolling the tire and working out with it when I weighed 240 pounds.
Hmm.
Now, I lost the 40 pounds just from rolling the tire, because that's a completely different exercise. And I was in 70 and 80 and 90-degree weather.
Wow.
Yeah, doing it and, rolling it around. So I was able to drop the weight pretty quickly. Um, but I still had, the extra skin from when I used to be, fat. Um, I had some muscle, but not a lot. I had a great deal of endurance and stamina, but it wasn't until I got a gym membership at ChamFit Studios, where I work at currently,
Hmm.
that I was able to keep the 40 pounds off and understand how my body really works and understand portion control and things of that nature. So I lost the 40 pounds, was at 200, really started to learn the science of my body and all those things I mentioned before. And I weighed myself here recently, and I was at 196.
Hmm.
And then I weighed myself on Monday, and I was at 194.
Oh,
So work in progress. And I don't know. I mean, I don't really have an end goal here. Just pounds just keep shedding. I don't know. I'll probably get to 185, maybe. We'll see. We'll
wow.
see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And yeah, just I'm amazed at the endurance, the physical
Hmm.
endurance of being able to do this so many times a week, just over and over, especially in that heat. I mean, I'm in New Jersey and it's August right now, and it's been pretty hot here. It's been,
Yeah.
high 80s, 90s, and even just me wanting to go out for a walk, I'm like, oh, it's too hot. And it's like, oh, I'm doing is
Yeah.
walking. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I should just go for a walk anyway in the heat.
Yeah, yeah. It would help. It definitely helps. That sun, the sun beaming, that definitely helps. And because it is, I want to be mindful of the weather. I tend to go rolling around in the morning
Mm,
when it's slightly cooler,
yeah.
just coming into the heat, or around maybe 4 or 5 p.m. when the sun is kind of gone over, getting ready to set, where it's not as hot. So I try to stay away from that 12 p.m. to 4 to 5 time gap. Try to stay away from that, because that's when the sun is like at its peak, and whew, try to stay away from it.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to the health benefits that you've seen and just having so many interesting interactions, part of this is really you're trying to raise awareness around cancer, and even, as we said in your bio, fundraise to help support people who are struggling through it financially. How
Yeah.
does that how have you tied in your work around awareness and outreach for
Hmm.
cancer survivors into the rolling of the tire?
Well, there's a lot of nonprofits here in Evansville, where I live, that I have decided to help. My most recent campaign, which was my very first one ever, was for the Dura Ragland Foundation. They bring awareness to pancreatic cancer,
Oh yeah.
and so I did a campaign for them. Like I said, my very first one was very successful. But what I've learned is, because I'm rolling the tire around, I'm finding that more and more people just want to give to the overall effort.
Mhm.
Um, and I've been told by people in the neighborhood that they've never donated to a cause before. They just never felt the need to. So I'm reaching an audience that kind of never wanted to donate before, never thought about it, or maybe donated, once or twice their entire life, even. So again, it's just, creating those relationships with people. But I plan on doing another campaign in the start of September
Mhm.
for another nonprofit. And I've kind of opened up the opportunity to help as many nonprofits as I can. Because I know that nonprofit work, trying to raise money, can be a struggle sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, so what I've decided to do is, cancer related nonprofits, get first dibs, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't mind helping. It's a group effort, to where I'll let the nonprofit know, okay, this is a community effort. This is a team effort.
Yeah.
So everyone must have buy-in, and everyone must work to raise the funds needed. So
Sure.
it's good to create that collaboration. It's really good.
Yeah. So how does that collaboration usually work? Do people donate to you to give to charities, or do you just inspire them to give to a cause or whatever cause is close to their hearts? How does that usually play out?
Well, actually, it's both of those.
Hmm.
It's getting people to consider donating more. And obviously within your means.
Yeah.
But to just be mindful of that. But what I do on my end is I have a GoFundMe account,
Hmm.
and people will donate to me, and then I will then present the funds to the nonprofit. What I've also learned is as I'm rolling around the community, people will just hand me money.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I had to start carrying a fanny pack, um, because it's just people were just handing me money left and right. So I didn't expect that to happen at all, but they do.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, I guess it's such a very different thing to see, and really, once they get to hear your story, it really is inspiring. The whole,
yeah.
the whole story behind it with your, your health and doing this in memory of your father, and
Hmm,
just the
hmm.
endurance, and the overall message of, really we can do almost anything that we put our minds and our bodies and our hearts to, and achieve
Absolutely, we
amazing
can.
things.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and how did you wind up getting media attention? Was there sort of one, I don't know, incident or time that somebody discovered you and then it was picked up, or how did the media find out about you?
Going. I remember I was finally rolling the tire during the day.
Hmm.
Like I said, I started at night wanting to be alone with the tire and being at one with it and putting that confidence. So at this stage, I'm confident now. And so I started to roll the tire during the day, and I was on one of the greenway spaces,
Hmm.
and, the pictures and video. And I was reached out to our local courier and press, and that video, they did an interview. I was on the front page, and then that interview received 100,000 views,
Wow.
and then from there, um, multiple news outlets just kind of followed.
Hmm.
Magazine, other podcasts, other news outlets, you name it.
Right. Wow. And then how long have you been doing this? I guess from rolling the tire. When did you start doing that?
Last
Oh, wow.
year in March.
Okay.
Hmm.
Wow. Very cool. So, let's see, I guess it's been probably a year and a half or so that you've been doing
Yeah.
this, and you've done, you've already brought a lot of great attention to
Hmm.
different causes around fundraising and helping to support people with cancer. What other goals do you want to achieve by um, keeping on rolling the tire?
Yeah. I'm trying. One of my efforts is I want people to get outside more
Yeah.
and walk. I said I belong to a gym,
Hmm.
and sometimes membership can be expensive or out of the means at the moment. I totally understand that, but and I also understand that what I'm doing is a bit on the extreme side.
Hmm.
But at the bare minimum, we could be walking around the block or neighborhood. um, we could, carry two dumbbells to make it a little difficult, or a weighted vest.
Hmm.
But the goal is to get outside, to get active, 30 minutes a day, doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, walking is probably one of the most accessible types of exercise for people, because it doesn't require going to a gym. It doesn't require a
Yeah,
lot of equipment. And
yeah,
as long as you have a place to walk, and, and you're able to do that and get out for,
yeah,
a couple times a week, that's really great. Well, that makes sense.
yeah. I put a graph on social media, of it was a body, and it was a scale, and it showed that if you walked every single day for 1 year for
Hmm.
30 minutes, the health benefits and the weight loss, alone from just walking,
Wow.
your endorphins are released each time you're taking in that fresh air. For me, it's gaining perspective in the neighborhood. So, others may do the same thing,
Hmm.
learn about their neighbors, see something they never saw before, things like that. So, yeah, I'm all for just going on a walk.
Yeah. And it's important, especially now, we're dealing with the COVID crisis, and a lot of people are
Yes.
home. Most people aren't going to the gym. They may not have
Yeah.
access to their normal
Hmm.
ways of exercise. And,
Hmm.
some people do need to stay strictly in their houses, but many of us,
Yeah.
you can just go for a walk sort of, away from people, and you can socially
Yeah.
distance and do your walk.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you can.
Wow. And I think I mentioned in your bio that you were thinking of doing a documentary about your rolling. Tell me about
Yes.
that.
So I'll tell you right now, if anyone that's listening to this is thinking about doing a documentary, think again. Those are very stressful. My director and I, we sat down and created a timeline,
Mhm,
and then being young and not knowing what to expect
mhm.
along the way. Um, for example, I won two awards recently,
Great. Wow.
and we thank you, and we didn't account for anything like that ever happening,
Right.
so we had to kind of push our timeline back to
Mm,
then go get that footage and then pick up where we left off. And so just along the way, you think you can kind of map out everything, but there's so much that can just randomly pop up, and it has been just that.
mhm,
um, Appearances here, community events there, got to be over here, things that we didn't even account for in time. Time is everything.
mhm,
So we're trying to cram all of this in, and a lot of it's just taking place just because of the awareness and the outreach that's taking place, and it is overwhelming. But we've got a lot done so far, and in fact, I just released the first teaser on social media.
Oh, that's
Oh
great.
yeah,
Yeah, I definitely want to
yeah,
add a link to that to your social media so people can see it.
definitely, definitely. The Keep Rolling campaign page on Twitter.
Mhm.
The teaser is the pin tweet.
Awesome. All right.
So yeah,
Very good. Okay. So yeah, we'll definitely add a link to your Twitter account and direct people to look at the pinned tweet to see that teaser. And then yeah, who knows? Maybe by the time this episode comes out in a couple weeks, you may have some even more information up there. So that is really great.
yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in some ways, I don't want to, it's a good problem to have because your story is continuing to evolve, which I guess makes
Yes,
it difficult to document it when, your story is still unfolding. So that
yes.
is really, really cool.
You're absolutely right. It is still um, right before my very eyes.
Wow.
One day I think I have it, and then I wake up, and then something else has happened. Now we got to make time to capture that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. So yeah, DeAndre, how can people get in touch with you or what's the best way for them to reach you if they just want to learn more about what you're doing and, your documentary or any other projects that you might be working on?
Absolutely. So the neat thing with LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, my default picture is me standing next to the tire.
Mm.
And it's DeAndre D. Wilson across the board.
Mhm.
And when you see the large tractor tire in me, you'll know. That's like it's like a landmark. It's like
Yeah,
you can't miss it. You can't miss it.
right.
But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, DeAndre D. Wilson, LinkedIn, Facebook, DeAndre Wilson. Look for the large tire. Um, Working on a YouTube channel as well.
Oh,
It's in the works as well. But right now, I've kind of put it on pause because I want this documentary to be just just fantastic. I want it to be special, showcase everything because I actually have a goal to enter the documentary into several film festivals.
wow. That's great. That is awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, good luck with your continued work with your documentary. And I will add links to your social media profiles in the show notes so that people can connect with you on their social media platform of choice, whichever way that they like to consume their social
Yeah,
media content. Oh, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, DeAndre, thank you so much for being my guest today. You're working on so
Yeah.
many amazing projects, and, congratulations on your health transformation and your
Thank
awards
you.
and all the great work that you're doing. Is there anything else that you'd like our listeners to know, or anything that they can help or support you with?
Um, I would like to leave the listeners with never say never.
Mhm.
Real quick, people would ask me, do I plan on rolling the tire with my dad or whatever the case may be? And I would say absolutely not. It's too heavy.
Yeah,
I would never do that. And look where we're at today.
right. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Well, it really is inspiration for anybody who has a big goal in front of them and maybe they don't know where to start, or they're feeling discouraged because they're still at the beginning, or hitting
Hmm.
a difficult point. But you are such an amazing example of how to push through that and how you really can achieve things that you never thought you could achieve just by, day to day, taking it day to day, and setting your
Absolutely.
goals. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, DeAndre, for being a guest on my show.
Well, thank you for having me.